Hello! Want to know how to cut an onion? Stay tuned, you'll find out. I'm Randy Bartlett. Welcome to COB Talks, a production of City of Bridges. We're here to share knowledge from professionals hanging out at home to people who are also hanging out at home. This week we're joined by Jess, who is an incredible Spanish food systems movement educator and just all around fantastic person. So stay tuned and see what she has to teach you.
Why, hello there. My name is Jess. I am one of the people at City of Bridges, not a student, an educator. However, we are all educators. But today I am here to do one of those City of Bridges COB Talks that Randy had kicked off a few weeks ago. And to start, I wanted to show you how to dice an onion. Look at this baby. It's beautiful. It's a nice yellow onion, grown in the USA by Perry and Sons Farms. Procured from Trader Joe's, which has a very nice policy right now of apparently allowing only a few people in the store and spacing people out. So I started working at a restaurant in November when I started at City of Bridges, and I had gotten my master's in food and done some cooking classes, but I had never needed to chop that many onions. I like cooking a lot at home, and today I'm making a soup. So I have some carrots and some edamame, some miso, and some eggs that I'm going to poach in the soup. And they're really foundational. And that was my interview test, actually, for the restaurant, which I'm pretty sure some of our students, Phoenix, might have done, where I had to chop some onions and then got tested on my ability. So this is one way to chop it. There are a few ways, but this is the one that the chef at the restaurant showed me. I'll get this carrot out of the way. So onion, we have the root right here, which has all of the roots that once went into the ground and gave this plant life and became this beautiful bulbous onion. And then we have this at the top, which is our stem. So we're going to start by chopping off the stem and chopping it up. Beautiful. And save these guys. So we actually have like a little bowl that we'll put this into, and then we will boil all of these skins and make a stock out of it. So don't throw anything away. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to chop off the root right here, but I'm going to be really careful, and I'm going to chop off just a tiny bit right here. So I'm going to chop off that very end, and you'll see that I still have everything still intact. So it's not, I haven't cut into the onion yet. I just cut off that little part. And then I'm going to take off all of the skins right here. I remember when I was younger, and I had watched one of those cooking shows, and someone had called in saying, "Where do I stop peeling the onion?" And apparently the woman had like peeled away the entire thing, so there was nothing left, which was extremely creative. But for this, you just want to take off the papery skins. They're nice and they're nice and flappy and light. You could probably make, I don't know, some music with them. So peel that away, and then look at this. Got this pristine onion. So next what we're gonna do, clean off our cutting board. And I generally have like a little compost that I put things into, along with a little bit of a towel. One thing that I would recommend, should have started with this first. Cutting board, it's always great so that your cutting board doesn't slide around when you're chopping things, to take your towel, wet it under the sink, and then you want to put it underneath your cutting board so that it's basically acting as a stabilizer. So because it's wet, it's going to stick to the counter, and that'll mean your cutting board will move less. So you're going to take your onion, you're going to place it down, make sure there's no skins on it, make sure everything here is clean. You're going to take your knife. A good way to hold a knife is pinching this right here, right above the heel of the knife, and holding it. And you're just gonna start by, I forgot. Everything, it happens to everyone. So you are going to start by cutting this onion in half. So you have a half of an onion now. And I cut it so that I cut it in half right here at the base where the bottom is holding it all together. So now you have a nice flat surface. It's not going to roll around when you're cutting it. Make sure that you want a flat surface. Safe. It's not going to drop off your fingers. And then you're going to start to cut it. So the way you're going to do that, so you have a nice even dice. Everything's going to be the same size. You're first going to think about it like a cross section. So you're going to cut this way laterally, and then you're going to cut vertically. So this way you're going to have like nice even squares. It's not going to be perfect. Mine is definitely not going to look perfect. But I think if you cut enough onions in your entire life, someday you might be able to enter an onion cutting competition. So you're going to be careful. You're going to just use your fingertips, and you're going to start cutting into the onion. And sometimes I do that by like wiggling my knife back and forth. And notice that it's not very top, like you're not cutting into the very top. So your fingertips are safe. And I'm just using like the tops of my fingers to cut into there. And then we're going to go down, and we're going to do that again and go down. And then in between all of these cuts, I'm leaving some room, and I'm trying to make it even on both sides. And when I'm getting closer to the edge of the onion, sometimes I need to push it towards me so that I can have enough room. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I cut into the onion here, here. I can flare it a little bit. So you see all those cuts? And I didn't go all the way to the edge. So I stopped here. I stopped cutting the onion here. So that way it won't all fall apart. If we cut into the entire onion all the way through, you would have lots of slices right now. So that's step one. And then step two, now you're gonna cut it this way. So we just cut it this way, going across. Now we're going to cut it this way, and you're kind of gonna fan it out. So imagine you're chopping it, not like bum, 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 but woo. So I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna cut it here. I'm gonna keep going, and basically you're gonna go across the entire thing. And when you're cutting, you're going to, I move my fingers across when I'm cutting so that I'm not ever cutting into my fingers. And the famous thing that you hear about, how do you chop using your fingers and be careful with them, that's going to come into play now. So now we're going to do what we normally think of as, a nice chop. So to do that, we're not going to have our hands flat because that would be quite dangerous. So what we're going to do, take your hands with me, curl them back towards you. There you go. Let's do it again. Woo! These finger strengthening exercises. We are going to pick up some onions. So we're going to take our hands. We're going to bring them back towards us. So now we can put down our fingers. We kind of have these claws. And look at that. Our fingertips are safe and protected. So when we're cutting, when the knife gets close to us, it's going to hit our knuckles instead of our fingertips. And since we're not lifting the knife up really high, we're not going to chop off our knuckles, which is great because our hands are extremely useful. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our fingertips, we're going to start them back here towards the onion, and we're going to push them forward. So now we have our knuckles here. So that's what's anchoring down this onion, because you never want to chop something just with one hand, because that would be really difficult. I mean, actually, that's probably an amazing skill that I do not have, that I respect. But use your hand, hold on to it, and you're going to basically anchor it right here. And you're just going to chop. And so there's a few ways you can do this. You can kind of go with this motion. I like to start right above the onion and hold and press down. And you're pushing forward with the back of the knife. You don't want to go like this. You kind of want to go forward. And you start to create like this rocking motion when you're chopping. So you're going to keep going, go forward. Oh no, I've gotten to the end of the onion. What do I do now? When I was working in the restaurant, sometimes I got to this point and I was looking around like, please don't look at me. I'm probably doing this incorrectly. So the way that I've learned it, so when you get to this point, instead of continuing to chop this little bit, which is very dangerous if you're going like this, you're going to flip it. We like having flat things. And you're going to continue that process. So you're just going to now chop like this. So much easier. And my eyes are starting to burn. You're going to flip it on its side, and you're going to chop it so that we have, chop it in the other direction so that you have nice little squares. So now you can take your hands. You have this like beautiful pile of onions, like a pile of leaves you could just dive into. And I'll show you what they look like. This is what my onions look like. So they're not all the same size. They're not all perfect, but they are onions, and they're small. And the reason that this might be so great for my soup is because the smaller the surface area, the quicker it'll cook. The larger the surface area, the quicker it'll cook, because it is more, there's more area for the heat to interact with it and all the other molecules and all of the flavor that I'm putting on it. And it's also really pleasing when you're, eating it and you're not eating an entire piece of onion that's like this in your soup. That wouldn't be so delicious. You know what? Perhaps it is. Find a soup that has this size onion in it, and I would gladly try it. So anyway, there you go. This is from me to you about how to chop an onion. A really good skill for having in a kitchen, in my opinion. And you have so much time to work on it right now, and hopefully enough onions. Let me know if you need me to send you an onion, and you can come take my job from cutting onions. If you want to come over here, help me cook my soup from 6 feet away, I would welcome it. Enjoy. I hope you like this talk, and we'll be back with more soon.
I hope you enjoyed spending time with Jess. Leave us comments down below if there are things that you want to learn about or things that you have that you can teach others. Subscribe so you keep getting updates, and see you soon.